do transactions like this offer opportunities for other lenders like you to drive growth? And then secondly, to think about, are there also opportunities here to engage end customers more as well?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, for us, when the opportunity arose in that, we took the decision that this hasn't been done before in that, but we, or us as a bank, we need to do more. We need to use our skill sets to drive this agenda in a very meaningful way by taking action and creating something. So don't get me wrong, it's very, very easy to go out and run a nice ad campaign and that, but it doesn't actually deliver anything in that. Whereas we could see our clients and customers saying, we want to do something positive in that, but we don't see a product or a project that we can fund and that. So there was a deficit in terms of supply. So again, we felt that we had the skill set and we're very, very fortunate to work with an extremely good client in terms of the trust and that, who were extremely helpful along the way and that in terms of building it. So it was a very, very collaborative process in that. And again, thankfully, we ended up with a fantastic first transaction in that, and obviously that'll be followed up by a second transaction. I think it also shows that finance is changing and that fundamentally we need to rethink how we do business in that. So I know this is just one example in that, but in terms of our day-to-day finance, we're seeing and we're thinking about things differently. We're thinking about how we allocate funding and how we allocate that funding. And I guess to give you an example on that, there's both in the UK and Ireland, there's a huge amount of homes that will need to be retrofitted and that. Again, the most opportune time to retrofit a home is probably when it's sold and the new owner hasn't moved in yet and can employ builders to do the work. So it's looking at financing and saying, well, is that not the best time to fund that upgrade project before the new owner has moved in and that? So it's looking at it in a very, very meaningful way and trying to apply it to, day-to-day banking and day-to-day customer requirements.
What are the changes that you'd like to see happen quickly in order that we can move this forward as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think for me, and it's just a general thing, I think what we need to have is greater collaboration and that no one bank, no one sector is going to solve this, or indeed no one government in that. So what we need to see is, I guess, less silos and less single-minded thinking, and we need to see much more collaboration between central government, who obviously are running some retrofit schemes, if we want to take the example of housing and that, the financial community, and of course, the sectors that can actually deliver the change, so construction and that. So, things like, do we have enough tradespeople to do the retrofitting, to install the heat pumps, to put in place the EV charger and that, and how are we going to fund them in a collective way in that? And again, taking it maybe from the perspective and from the viewpoint of the customer, because today, if you have to go and get a bank loan, apply for a grant, and they're not joined up in that, that creates barriers, it creates friction in that. So again, we need to be a little bit more lateral thinking in terms of bringing those things together, making it very, very easy for the homeowner or the customer to get the funding with the grant, and of course have the tradesperson come on site and do the job in that. And this is where I think, when we start to think about finance and think about the circular economy, this is fundamentally changing how we do business and that. So for me, a critical change would there'll be just much more collaboration on that and maybe less competition.
What did you learn about how important sustainability is for younger folks in your business?
Yeah, I think two things. And I mean, again, I'm in my 40s now and that, so I'm old. So I think there was a couple of things. It really resonated with them was the first thing. Normally when assignments come along and that, you have to go and look for volunteers. We didn't have to do that. Once people, heard about this, particularly amongst the grads and that, we had a lot of people coming to us saying, I'd love to work on the transaction. It sounds really interesting. It's very, very innovative in that. And I think what they did was they brought a different perspective and that, people in their 20s have a different perspective from people in their 40s and that. And as I said, and this from a personal point of view, what I felt was going to resonate was the whole carbon sequestration and the biodiversity in that, and less so the amenity value. And I'm happy to say I got that wrong, but it was the grads, the younger members of the team, who really pointed that out and said, COVID, we're stuck at home, we can't get out. It's great to be able to go out for a walk and that. And maybe I didn't realize this because you have small kids and that. But again, they brought that to the fore. They added a huge amount of value in that. And again, they had some fantastic different insights. And it's important to have lots of different perspectives when you're developing something like this in order to future-proof in that.
Are there things as you look ahead into 2022 and beyond that you would like to see innovated, either from your own business or within the environment that you're working in?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of things we could touch off here, and that, I mean, obviously we've seen a lot of the policies that are coming down the tracks and that, which are, progressive, and they're very, very welcome in that. But for me, I think 2022, and particularly following on from COP, has to be all about action in that. We've seen a huge amount of organizations coming out making, very strong pledges in that. Now it's all about delivery on the pledge and telling people how one is going to deliver on the pledge, and of course, taking that action that's going to be required. So I think there's a couple of things. I think, we need to have less siloed thinking, as we discussed earlier in that. And I think we need to create these circular type transactions for a circular economy in that. And again, I think we need to help people come on the journey in that. I mean, one of the things that we're very focused on in the bank is explaining to our customers, our colleagues, and that why this is important, how it'll impact on their business, and why not only is it the right thing to do for the planet, but it's also the right thing to do for your business, because what you'll have is lower costs, more efficiencies, and higher profitability. And that, and at the end of the day, from a fundamental lending perspective, if I give you money, I want to get it back. I'll get it back if the company is sustainable, if it's resilient, and if it's run in a better fashion in terms of having higher sales and lower costs and that. And that all feeds into the ESG agenda and that. So I think, for next year, it's all about action. It's for the financial community, it's all about making sure that we've created those channels, that we can put that capital to work, that we can support those businesses with the requisite capital, but also help them with advice and also steer them to the new opportunities. I did a call last week, and one of the questions they asked, well, this doesn't really apply to SMEs. It couldn't be further from the truth. The SMEs will deliver the transition. They will also be the biggest beneficiaries of some of the opportunities when you think about the practical things of, well, who's going to come and install the solar panels? Who's going to put an EV point outside my house? Who's going to do all this work? It's the SMEs, because again, they're in every community and they're absolutely critical and pivotal towards delivering the transition to the low carbon economy.
Sean, thanks very much for joining us. It's been great to talk to you.
Super, thank you.
Thanks very much for listening today on our next episode of CxO Disruptors. ESG is clearly going to be a top priority for boards in the coming years. If you have any perspectives that you'd like to share with us or with Sean, please do get in touch, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.